sum or difference of perfect cubes. The sum or the difference of perfect cubes. All right. So when you have the sum of cubes, that means you have a variable cubed and a number cubed. Now, listen. This is the piece you have to memorize. So your first piece says A plus B. So you take the cube of the A and the cube of the B. So the first one is a binomial, and it has the same sign as what was in your cubes. Then your trinomial starts A squared minus. So it will always have the opposite sign. And then the last one is always a plus. So your last number always has a plus when it is cubes. So A cubed plus B cubed will factor to the cube root of A plus the cube root of B plus A squared minus A times B plus B squared. All right, so let's start with,
Wait, don't change.
I'm not. So we're going to start with A cubed plus 8. A cubed plus 8. So when we factor this, we know this is A times A plus 2 times 2 times 2. So that's how we know that they're both perfect cubes. Because when we break it down into prime factors, A cubed is A times A, and 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So since it's multiplying by the number 3 times, we know that it is a perfect cube. Alright, so we start. My first is A. I have a plus, and then what's the cube? 2. And then a parenthesis, my first piece squared, so that's A squared. I have to do the opposite sign. So on my first number or variable comes my second piece, 2A.
Is that 2 subtracted by 2 subtracted by 2 for the time?
This is 2 times 2. This is my prime factors of 8. So that's multiplies, yes.
Where do you get 2A from?
Because this tells me we're going to call this first and second. So this is first plus second. So my first is A, and my second is 2. So when you take the cube root of this, your first is A, and your second is 2.
Wow.
Miss, you've been my friend.
I'm dying.
All right.
I know.
Just hold on. Let's go back. All right. So this is the first number in our cubes, is A cubed. So that's the first piece. So I want to factor, take the cube root of A cubed. So that means what number times itself gets me this. So there'll be 3 of them. So a cubed is a times a times a. So my first factor is a. Then I take my 8, because I had a. Let me use a different letter. Maybe that helps. So if I had x cubed plus 8.
Where you in the 8 from?
Because that was the problem that I gave you.
Oh, okay.
So 8, we know factors to 2 times 2 times 2. So this is my second. So my first is in x.
So what you move to be?
Well, I'm taking the a and the b out and replacing it with first and second factor. So my second factor is a 2. So what this tells me is I have my first factor, which is a, is x. My first factor is x. So we'll call this first and second. So the first one is x plus my second is 2. All right, so this is my first one squared. So what was my first factor? X. So that is x squared. And then I do my opposite. So what is my first factor times my second factor? 2x. And then it says my second factor was 2. So 2 squared is 4. And there's your answer. Yes.
So that's the formula?
This will be it every time for the sum. So your sum of cubes is your first factor plus your second factor times the first one squared minus first times second plus second squared. All right, let's look at another example. All right, so r cubed plus 27. So the first thing you do is you start by factoring each piece, the first piece and the second piece. So this is r times r times r. And 27, 3 times 3 times 3. So what is my first piece?
R squared.
My first piece is just r. And my second piece is
3.
all right, so let's go back to our formula. So it says first plus second. So we're going to take our first, r plus 3. Then it says take my first squared, so that would be r squared minus first times the second,
3R
3r, plus the second squared. And your factor.
I got it.
I did not pay attention.
All right. Now, that is the sum. That's when you have a plus, and it's a cube and a cube. So let's look at difference of cube and a cube.
You got that now from out of the threes to difference.
It's because 3 times 3 is 9, because it says the second one squared. All right, this one's the same thing. You keep the same sign for your first and your opposite. And this one is always a positive. So difference, it's the same thing. So this is first, second, this one is your first part squared. This is first times second. And this one is your second squared. The exact same thing. Except you have a minus in the first one and then a positive. Uh-huh. All right. It's just something that you just have to practice over and over. It's not that it's hard. You just have to practice going through the steps. All right, so let's look at this one, the difference of cubes. So I have r cubed minus 8. This is difference. All right, so you start off, you factor each piece, first piece and the second piece. So r cubed is r times r times r. 8 is 2 times 2 times 2. So what's the first piece of my, is r. Good. So the first piece is r. The second piece is 2. All right. So it says first piece minus second piece times first piece squared, r squared, plus first times second, 2r plus second squared, 4. Say again? Yes. This one is the same. This one is opposite. For addition and subtraction both. And this one is always positive. So this one is same, opposite, always positive. Same, opposite, always positive. All right, the assignment for this lesson is page 57, problems 33 through 38. Page 57, problems 33 through 38. You must show your work.